Well, hello, and welcome back to that thing we like to call Curless Mania, where we talk all things pop, rock, and prog. Man, it's a pretty exciting day. I don't know what to say. I mean, when you have a new guest on, it's always exciting, and this is like bringing in the designated hit, the MVP, the designated hitter. I don't know what to say. Mr. Pete Pardo. Pete, thanks for coming, man. How are you today?
What's going on, Tom? I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. And I'm excited to be talking about one of my favorite bands of all time and a time period in their history that is very much a big part of my life. So, yeah, Jethro Tull.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I was just saying to Pete before we started recording, in the Prague Seat's a big show for me, and you guys have done a lot of Tull stuff on that channel, and I love the stuff you guys have done, and it just it kind of I thought of it, I was thinking about this because I read this book. There's not many books out there on Jethro Tull, but there's a book by this guy Gary Parker, and he talks about the original Jethro Tull. And he's talking about the glory years 68 to 80, basically is what he called it. I called it 69 to 79. But he it's an interesting book, and it talks about the chemistry and the magic that was created by that five-piece band, man. And I couldn't agree more. I just think there was a chemistry there with that lineup.
Yeah, and even, we had a couple different people coming and going in the band at the time. You had a couple different bass players, a couple different drummers, but for the most part, yeah, that was a pretty special time. And, this is what it is. It's like a product of its time. It's that whole kind of British blues thing, and it's not that much different other than you have the flute. It's not that much different than what Fleetwood Mac or Chicken Shack or 10 years after we're doing at the time, and it's fine. But for me, it really started with stand up. And
Yeah,
there is just this level of quality from that album all the way to Stormwatch. Again, this fine stuff that came after it.
right.
But all those albums with those two bookending and everything in between, it's really special. And what I like so much about it is that there's so much variety in that part of the catalog. Again, what is it, right? Is it
Right.
folk rock? Is it blues rock? Is it prog rock? Is it hard rock? It's all that stuff, right?
Hmm.
And more. And I think when you add in the unique vocal styles of Ian Anderson and that flute and that back and forth juxtaposition between acoustic guitar and crushing electric guitar and the great keyboards and the great rhythms and again this whole folk prog blues kind of mix, it's pretty special and there's really nothing else like it anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about that run of albums from stand up through Stormwatch, and that's what we're going to do today. And I couldn't agree with you more, Pete. I mean, I just think there's just so many. He touches on so many different musical styles, and that's what makes it Jethro Tull so unique, like you said. And some people don't. It's funny. There's a lot of people like I know. It's either you love Tull or like you notice that, or some people are like, "Oh, Jethro Tull, I hate Jethro Tull." It's like, how do you hate Jethro Tull? Like, what?
Yeah, for a lot of people, the flute is a turnoff. I
Yeah,
get that, to be honest. But then again, I'm someone who harmonica is a turnoff for me. But I know
right.
people who don't like flute, who don't like saxophone in their rock music, and I guess I get it. Ian's voice is very unique, maybe to some people, not a good singer. I personally think he's always been a great singer,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and maybe because the music is so kind of weird and diverse and very different.
yeah.
It's but I mean, how many like people do you know or have talked to who are like big hard rock fans who also really like Jethro Tull because it satisfies that hard rock itch? There are people
Yes,
who
yeah,
who mainly listen to folk music. They like Tull for that reason. And those people who are just straight up proggers and they love Tull, right? Even though
yeah,
some of the Tull music is way heavier than anything else they listen to. So
yeah,
I get both sides. I totally get people who say I don't really understand it, but I get when people say they don't, oh, I can't listen to Jethro Tull. It's just totally not. I get it.
hmm.
I always try to convince them, no, well, how about try this, but I
Have
know
you
what you
listened to
like.
Aqualung?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, come on. It's like, you're a metal guy. Listen, Minstrel in the Gallery. Come on.
Right,
There's
right,
nothing there that
exactly.
appeals to you, right? So I always try because I think there's so much in this catalog that really can appeal to just about anybody. And that's what makes them a really, really cool band.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's jump in. Why don't we? Let's start. You mentioned stand up, so let's get into it. I mean, stand up, is a big left turn from it's big left turn from, and I don't have the, I got to get all, I have to get all the reissues, by the way. I need to get them all.
They're all sitting right here, Tom. So
And
you'll be seeing a lot of them today.
I
Yeah,
need to
I
have
have
them all.
every
And
one.
as you can see, I've got a couple of them up there. I've got about
You're
four.
getting there. Yeah, you're getting
I'm
there.
working on it, but
It's
they are
amazing. And
so
I came walking downstairs with this stack, and these are not all of them. These are just the 70s ones. This shit's heavy.
well, they're
I
like
have like
heavy
all these
books.
by I have all these. I got all most of the Marillions. I got all these Black Sabbath by. I'm like, man, this stuff like weighs like more than like 150 CDs. I'm like, yeah, this is heavy stuff.
But
You know?
would you say that Jethro Tull's like the gold standard for reissues?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think Marillion kind of followed along
Yeah.
after Tull
Mhm.
started. But yeah, these are amazing. I mean, you can't ask for anything more. When these get originally released, they run anywhere from like $40 to $60, I guess, depending on where you live. And the bang for your buck is just amazing. I mean, where else are you going to get something like this?
Look at that.
Right? Where are you going to
Yes.
get that? Where else are you going to get like multiple CDs, remastered, remix, bonus live tracks, live shows, Blu-ray or DVD with all the different audio options, and like a full book, like
Yes.
like
A
a
full
hundred
book.
page book
Yes.
on everything having to do with these albums.
Yes.
It doesn't get any better than this. And
No.
even like, I mean, I'm not a big fan, and we'll get to it, of Too Old to Rock and Roll. That's one of my
Right.
least favorite albums in the catalog. But I own it in this format, of
Yeah.
course, because
Yeah.
it's got all these factoids. And you mentioned the whole thing about there's not a lot of toll books out there. There's a couple. There's like one or two that I have that you haven't shown. But really, you almost don't even need the toll books, because if you have all of these, each one is a full book on its own on that album and that time in history and in the history of Jethro Tull. So
I did have that thought, Pete. I was like, if you just buy all the reissues, you got the whole story.
you got a 1,000 page toll book, right?
Yeah,
It's
you got the
crazy.
story, but it would be not, wouldn't it be nice though to have like one book that was
Oh
like
yeah.
all about Tull, like a big thick book about Tull. Like I'd be
Oh
into
yeah.
that, you
With all the
know?
photographs and all the info
Yeah,
and all the factoids. Yeah, hell yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
I'd be into that.
It would be like this, but
Anyway, we're doing the Grant's Rock Warehouse. Uh, we're taking left turns, hard lefts, and that's okay. That's all right. We can talk about other stuff, but we're
we're
back.
going on a tangent, Tom, as Grant always likes to.
That's the word I was looking for. Tangent. Thank you. Yes, tangent.
Grant loves his tangents.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, we're back. I'm focusing, I'm refocusing back to stand up. So stand up was as you mentioned, this was kind of like a blues rock. It had a different guitar player, Mick Abrams, and I don't know how you say Abrahams or Abrams. I don't know which one's right.
Abrams, yeah, I think it's Mick Abrams, yeah.
Abrams, and he was like a Clapton devotee, and a lot of it sounds kind of creamish, and they do like a little bit of jazz in there too, like, and I like this was quite a bit, but it's definitely I don't think it was what Ian really wanted to do. And I think that as soon as Mick left, and Mick was kind of a high, like, type A kind of guy, and I think once he was out of the band, Ian was like, I'm taking the ball and running with it. And he decided to pursue more of a different, a more eclectic, folkier kind of sound. I always think of like the song Fat Man, kind of like that would have
Oh yeah.
happened on This Was, you know what I mean?
No, not at all. Not at all. I
What's
don't,
your take on Stand Up?
I love stand up, and I think it's quite the evolution from the first album, because maybe A New Day Yesterday is could have been on that first album. I love A New Day Yesterday, but you know Jeffrey is and Back to the Family and Boré would never have fit on the first album. Fat
Yeah,
Man certainly not. I mean, there's a lot of really cool folky bluesy rock material on here, but it goes past that, like, kind of like traditional 60s kind of bluesy rock shuffle, right? Which a lot of the first album has. This is something totally different. Maybe progressive folky blues. I don't know. There's definitely a progressive element to this album, even though it's not prog. We're not talking
right.
prog rock, but it's progressive blues, progressive folk. I don't know, but it's really good. And let's face it, no disrespect to Mick, but I think that Martin Barr is a much, much more oh, what's the word I'm looking for? He's got more tools in his toolbox, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
than Mick
Yeah.
uh, does. Good or bad. I mean, if you like the straight blues style, I mean, Mick is great. But I think that, yeah, Ian was allowed to, with this lineup, to all of a sudden become the de facto leader of the band and the driving force creatively speaking. And it's clear as day on this album. I mean, this, like you said, this is fine for what it is. This is like a totally different band, totally
Yeah.
different beast,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
great. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, there's little remnants of like you said, New Day Yesterday and Nothing Is Easy are kind of like heavy rockers, but they're definitely, they're not as blues. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, they have a little bit of that This Was feel, but not really. Uh,
No, there's
and man,
textural
when
things that are very different on this album.
yeah, and when man, live versions of Nothing Is Easy, man, oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
Damn, those blow my mind. You watch those on YouTube, you're like, oh my God, that band was just, they were rocking, man. They were a
Oh,
hard
yeah.
rock band.
Yeah, that's a great song. I mean, they had that in the set for quite a long time. It's sad when they dropped that, but yeah, there's some really great tracks on here. I love For a Thousand Mothers. I think is a great song.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
Used to Know is great. Look into the Back to the Family is also kick ass. It's a very strong album. I mean, I know people who are big Tull fans who still to this day this is their favorite Jethro Tull album.
yeah.
Can't argue it.
Yeah, I can't argue that either. Can't do it. I mean, but like you said, Back to the Family's great. I mean, Look Into the Sun's cool. I mean, for a thousand mothers, isn't that did you hear mother? Yeah, he's basically saying like, you told me not, yeah.
Yeah,
And you
awesome.
you told me not to do this, but look at me now. I'm a huge star. So it's like one of those,
Yep.
I love it. I
And
love
a
it.
really good, a really solid four-piece band here. Really,
Yeah.
Clyde Bunker and Glenn Cornick, really good bass player. I
Kill.
mean, I think they felt the loss when both of those guys left, but they were lucky enough to get two guys. I mean, you could make the argument that Glenn was probably, if not the best, maybe the second best bass player they had in the 70s. But Clive's such a great drummer.
Oh
They were
God.
lucky with Barrymore, who was probably equally, probably better drummer. But Glenn Cornick was kind of a loss they felt a little bit. Although the next guy they got, who I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit, was much more of a showman. I think maybe
Yeah.
not as skilled on the bass, but we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a little bit.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I mean, there's no question that original rhythm section was killer. I mean,
Oh yeah,
uh,
very good. Yeah, yeah.
Clyde Bunker, awesome drummer. And yeah, it's kind of I saw an interview with Ian where he talked about Glenn Cornick, and had a lot of respect. I mean, he was a great. Those two were a great rhythm section. There's no question. And there's no, you don't really feel much. I mean, things change, but there's still a high quality there, right? So
Yeah, I don't think Glenn and Ian got along on a personal level. I think there was some, Ian, if you've read a little bit or listened to interviews, he's got a way with the way he likes to run the band, and I think there's a certain temperament of person that he likes to have in the band. And when you are someone who doesn't kind of fall in line with the way Ian is and how he conducts himself in the studio and on tour, you're probably not long for the band. So I think there was some personality conflicts there between him and Glenn. And you read up a little bit on Glenn, and I think he was kind of like a wild guy. He liked the rock and roll lifestyle, and that's not really Ian's thing. So
he liked to party. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So of course, he went on and formed his own band, Warhorse, who were great, and that was probably more in line with what he wanted to do. And but it's a shame we didn't get more from Glenn Cornick throughout the years.
yeah,
That Paris band with Bob Welch was really good, and like I said, Warhorse was really good, but really not much at all after that. But
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, so we move on to 1970 Benefit, and Benefit is almost like almost like I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like taking Stand Up and kind of like changing it a little bit, and maybe like just coming down harder on certain things and then easing up on other things. I mean, it's almost like a consolidation of sorts.
yeah, I don't really think there's another album in the catalog quite like this one because
Yeah,
it loses some of the folkiness of stand up, and it's definitely more kind of hard rock. Like there's still like there's that blues element, but it's definitely more hard rock. But it's also very different than Aqualung, right? It kind of sits
right.
here in the catalog. And I tell you, Tom, for many years, this was my favorite Jethro Tull album.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I can't blame you for that. I mean, there's something about this record that's just really, really magical. Like I don't know how to describe it. There's certain songs to me just really stand out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then the fact that Sweet Dream and Teacher didn't even make or they were, I don't know if they were single or whatever. I mean, those are like, they weren't even on the album. Those are the same time period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are
Pretty
great
crazy, right?
songs,
Yeah, totally great songs. Totally great songs.
you
And I
know?
know like Teacher was a good big radio staple here for many, many years. I would always hear Teacher on the radio here, the local FM rock radio. But yeah, nothing else on here really screams hit single or anything like that. And if you look at like the career of this band, were there any real concert staples on this album? Not really. For the most part, maybe Nothing to Say, which is a great song. I mean, To Cry You a Song is terrific. What a
Yeah.
guitar
Yeah.
riff. Yeah, right.
Yes.
My God, but Saucity is so good. With You There to Help Me is kind of haunting. I love that flute on there. Um, from Michael Collins, Jeffrey and Me is charming. Yeah, I mean, this Inside is great. But
Inside. Yeah.
nothing like when you like look at the various like Jethro Tull hits compilations and things that have been released over the years, there's almost never anything from this or very little.
No.
But I think it's a very cohesive album that works really well, that rocks hard. There's just nothing on here that screams like, "Hey, pull me," from a song perspective, "Pull
Yeah.
me out and love me," right?
Right.
It's one of those albums that has to be listened to from start to finish, and it's sequenced very, very well. But yeah, there's no hits on here or anything like that, and that's okay, I think. I think it works for this album.
Yeah, I mean it's a consistent record as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. It's very
Yeah.
consistent from beginning to end. It's like pretty high quality all the way through, and it's funny because you read I don't know if you read the book in here. It's like they're kind of Ian especially is kind of like dismissive of a lot. Oh, that song's not that good. Oh, that song's kind of.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, he's
And I'm
not a
like,
fan.
wow, that song's not that good. Like what?
Yeah.
But I mean, he's looking at his own work, so I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
I always thought in my mind, I always felt that this was kind of like a Martin Barr album. This is like Martin's big kind of, even though he plays on stand-up, he's more impactful on this record. And I think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
to Ian, based on what he talks about in the book in here, I don't think he's very much looking back on this album with fondness because I don't think he likes the arrangements. I don't think he likes the lyrics and all that sort of thing. And maybe some of these songs aren't as like craftfully woven together as other songs and other albums in the catalog. Maybe you could say that. I don't know. I kind of don't agree. But again, I think a lot of us really like this album because it's a little more straightforward. It's a little more hard rocking, and maybe it's not as artful as what Ian Anderson really wanted to do. I don't
yeah,
know. I think it works for what it is. I like it
yeah.
a lot.
Oh, I think it definitely works. And like you said, I kind of like that it's not, you don't hear it as it's kind of a dark horse record. Like you don't
Yeah,
hear it
totally.
as much,
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
sure.
So I kind of like that about it too. But then, no more dark horse anymore in 71. We're going to the biggie,
Yeah.
Aqualung, which graduated them to the big time. Um, and no, I mean, there's a reason why this is a classic. You say this a lot. There's a reason why it's a classic, and
Yeah.
it's just an incredible record.
It is. I mean, start to finish, there's not a weak song on here. And I remember for many years I was like, all right, well, I've heard Aqualung and Cross-Eyed Mary and Locomotive Breath and Hymn 43 to death, right? I've
Yeah,
heard them a
yeah,
million times. And, the deep cuts are amazing.
yeah,
And I think that is what's brought me back to this album in recent years, where now this has become my favorite Jethro Tull album. Again, cliche as it might sound, because of things like Cheap Day Return and Mother Goose and My God and Wind Up, which is so great. What a great way to close the album. And then you appreciate the radio staples all the more. Like Locomotive Breath kicks ass. There's some crushing hard rock on here. There's some cool folky stuff. There's some proggy stuff, which we'll hear about on the next album. Mother Goose is so charming and just, yeah, it's great. The production is great. And I will say, Steven Wilson's remix is exactly what this album needed. I think out of all the Steven Wilson remixes I have heard, this might be my favorite because it
yeah.
just elevates this. And I don't dislike the original mix at all, but man, with the subtle things that he did on this, so good. So
He
good.
is Steven Wilson knows what he's doing, and man, there's another album I want to point out where he does an amazing job as well. It's this one and another one. It's like Dirty Windshield, and he's like all
Yeah,
of a
all of a
sudden
sudden it's like, oh, it's like Well,
Oh
that
my God, I can
never
see it
quite
now.
sounded like that before, right?
I didn't realize my windshield was so dirty. It's one of those, you know, it's
Yeah,
just, the mix is just gleams. It's awesome. But you're right. It's kind of like side two of moving pictures. You know, it's like where you're like, oh yeah, I forgot how great these songs are.
yeah,
You know, all the hits and all the radio stuff is on side one, and then you list, oh my God, yeah, I forgot about. So it's kind of like that. And but it's funny, whenever I listen to this record, it's one of those like these songs are so good that, and you're right, there's a little bit of fatigue there, but man, these songs are still great. Like, I mean,
they are
Aqualung, I've
great.
heard a billion times. I still love it. You know, it's just something about it.
It's such a great riff. The solo is so good. The whole pacing of the song is good. And like I said, I've grown to appreciate stuff like, Hymn 43, which they used to play on the radio around here in New York on the Hudson Valley a lot. And, Locomotive Breath, I hear it now. I just get into the whole thing. And yeah, it's so good. So good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It
There's not much
is.
else I can say. It's an
Yeah,
unbelievable record.
it
Uh,
is. It is.
so oh, and by the way, it was a little bit of a tangent, I guess. Here is that I forgot to mention John Evan did a guested, but kind of was like a guest star on Benefit, and then I think he became a full member for Aqualung. Um,
Yes.
and to your point about Martin Barr, like John Evan also kind of came into his own on Aqualung a little bit. You
For
know,
sure. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, his organ work is so important to the music of this band going forward, I think. And even though this is not like, John Lord and Deep Purple organ saturated music, but he's there and it plays a very important part of the sound of these albums alongside those, the heavy guitars of Martin, Ian's acoustic guitar, the flute. It's like you have to have all these elements, I think, to really make these albums classic. That's the one thing you can't kind of look away from is how important the people in the band are and their contributions are, because it's like the whole is so much greater than the individual parts. So together these guys made magic, and it's because of all the musicians in the band. Just it's like a perfect storm type of thing. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And the magic continues on the next record. I mean, just killer Jethro Tull, thick as a brick. I mean, I grew up with this record. My sister had it. I have three older sisters. My oldest sister had this album, and I remember sitting down as a little kid, a wee little lad, listening to "Thick as a Brick" and being like blown away, like, what the hell is this?
yeah.
I remember being kind of freaked out that dirt, dirt, dirt. You're like, oh my God, this is like, and after it was just, it still blows my mind. 30 years later, it's crazy.
I mean, did you ever think that like a 44-minute long song would be as exciting as this, right?
That's so true. It's so true.
Oh, like it's so funny. My wife who doesn't understand this type of music at all. So like, progressive rock just drives her nuts. And like I'll be playing this in the car and she'll like, and she'll look over at the time of the song and she'll be like, is this still the same song? Does that really say like, like 20? I'm like, yeah, it does. It's all one song. It's like it's a regular two sides of vinyl, whatever. She goes, why would anybody want to listen to like a 40 something minute long song? I'm like, I would.
Right here.
It's like, some
Right
people
here,
just don't
dude.
get that. Yeah, for a lot of people, 3-4 minute long, that's all you need. Why would anything be 10 or 15 or God forbid 40 something long? Yeah, this is, I mean, I think the pacing and the sequencing of this is just amazing. And I'm sure in the studio, it was all of these pieces that they kind of put together, but man, did they do a great job of putting it together. It's just amazing when you think about how things like this, or the album we're going to talk about in a couple minutes, or, Close to the Edge or Gates of Delirium, or whatever the song, Supper's Ready, whatever the song is that you're talking about, where initially, or it's all these like tons of ideas that somehow they put together to make this one great long epic piece. Because you can't tell me that Ian Anderson sat down and said, okay, I'm going to write a 45-minute long track and it's going to be totally cohesive. It doesn't work that way. You come up with ideas and then you start to kind of weave them all together. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
amazing album. And you mentioned John Evan before. You don't have Thick as a Brick without him. He's
No way.
amazing.
No way. Yeah. So true. So
He's
so true.
arguably the MVP on this album, I think,
Yeah.
in spots.
Along with Barrymore Barlow.
Yeah, true.
I mean, he Barrymore Barlow brings a ton of energy to this record too.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
for sure.
so another new member alert, by the way, right? Because
Yes.
so he's new on this album. So,
Yep. Yep.
I remember listening to that little like drum solo and being like, oh my god, like who is playing drums? This is so cool.
Yeah, he's really good.
I mean, so but I would say that like Thick as a Brick, okay, we keep talking about it's 40 minute, yeah, it's a 40-minute song, whatever. I get that, but like there's a lot of little songs baked in. You know what I mean? Like you can hear it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, that's why they were able to take sections of this out and play them live for years and years and years. It's like, all right, we're not going to play the whole Thick as a Brick, but we have this 10-minute section that works perfectly on its own. And there are a few of them in
Yeah.
this on
Yeah.
this epic song. Yeah, it's great stuff.
You
The
know.
whole thing, I mean, the whole beginning is so good. Ian's acoustic guitar work is so good. The moments of flute are good. The story is really good. It's like a perfect album, right?
Yeah, all of a sudden when it goes into that whole poet and the painter,
Oh,
and
yeah,
you're like, here's a new song. Like you can kind of feel it a little bit, but it's
yeah,
still like you said, the arrangement, they worked really hard on the arrangements, and it's so smooth. It's just it's like butter. It's
yeah,
fantastic. So
yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's really good. Right now, I've got all these arrangements that keep popping in my head from Thick as a Brick, and it's all like such genius. It really is.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, it's like
Hero.
thunderous, it's
Well,
dramatic, it's symphonic, it's like
yeah, yeah. It's like what other band was doing this at that time? I don't think anybody. I think
not
they were
quite
like
like
really,
this.
I mean, and it's funny that this was sort of like a parody, of course. We all know that. Like this was like, oh, let's do a progressive rock, or a concept record. They thought Aqualung was, and that whole story of they thought Aqualung was, so let's make one as a joke. It's like, wow, holy moly.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, but so then that kind of leads into Passion Play, which is kind of like, I don't know how to describe Passion Play. It's almost like taking Thick as a Brick and being a lot more serious about it, and like trying to like actually do it for real.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. What's your take on this record? It's kind of a tough one to describe.
It is. I love it a lot. I don't love it as much as Thick as a Brick, but I think it works on a lot of similar levels. I think, this to me comes across more as like a musical performance than that, which is a song based, like an album. I think this, you could totally hear this being kind of performed on stage with actors and dancers while the band is playing. I think it comes across more like
Yes. Yeah.
it's definitely not as accessible. Although there are a lot of people who would say there's no way Thick as a Brick is accessible, but I think it is.
I think it is.
This
Yeah.
is a little harsher, a little bit more dissonant, complex. There's some gorgeous stuff on here, but they're definitely trying some new things. He's playing sax on here, which is a
Yeah.
little different. That's
Yep.
a little jarring. There's maybe, we talked about how you can pull sections of Thick as a Brick and they act on their own as a separate song. I don't know if you can really do this as well. To me,
Yeah.
this is a play start to finish, and it's really the only way to listen to it type of thing for me. It's whimsical, it's very British.
Right. Right.
Good, I mean, and that's okay because that's why one of the reasons why we love this band. But it's a very British album. I would make the argument, Tom, as much as I love Passion Play, I like the Chateau Disaster sessions even more.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now,
Yes.
for those, there may be folks watching who have no idea what we're talking about here. So the band originally went into the studio in at the Chateau de Hoiville, or however the hell you say that studio, which is a very popular studio at the time. And they recorded this album, not intended to be called a passion play, whatever the hell they were going to call it. And Ian had all of these songs written out and arranged. So they went in and recorded all these songs that, at times followed similar themes and whatnot, but he was not happy with the studio. He was not happy with the way the album was coming out. There was shit going on behind the scenes that were freaking the band out because there's all these weird stories about ghosts and whatnot at this place, whatever. Um, but anyway, so they recorded the album. He wasn't happy with it. They scrapped it. They went to another studio and they made what it became a passion play. Now, if years later, I think the first time they released one of the hit sets released some of these original recordings, but then with the Nightcap release back in the early mid '90s, they released again another bunch of tracks from the original Chateau sessions, sweetened up with a little extra flute because the original sessions had barely any flute in it. And I remember hearing that was great. But with the box set, they released all the original Chateau de Huerville sessions in its entirety. And what's really interesting, yeah, they're all listed right there. What's really interesting is when you listen to this original incarnation of this album, it's basically bits and pieces from the Passion Play and what would later wind up on Warchild.
Yep. Yep.
So it's fascinating stuff in that now when you listen to these two back to back, a Passion Play and the Chateau sessions are completely different albums.
They
And it's
are. They
like
are.
this becomes the bookend album in between this and Warchild. And
Yes.
folks, if you've never heard this, you need it.
You
It's a
need it.
totally
You need it.
separate
Yeah.
Jethro Tull record, and it rocks heavily. And there's some stuff on the Chateau sessions that didn't make it onto either of those two albums that I mentioned that are standalone great songs, like No Rehearsal and, the Critique Oblique stuff and Scenario and Audition, these big cranking heavy rock numbers. And then, you hear stuff like Law of the Bungle and Skating Away on the Thin Ice was originally part of this, which wound up on that album. It's a killer record that I think for those that maybe Passion Play is a little too weird and out there and long and not like instantly accessible, you might think differently about the original Chateau sessions. I'm a
Right.
big fan of them, big fan of,
Yes.
of that stuff.
Yes. Pete, I couldn't agree with you more. I love the Chateau Disaster tapes. I think they're awesome. I think I'm not quite sure. I mean, here's a question for you. And I think I know the answer based on what you just said. But like, don't you feel sometimes you listen to this, you go, I wish they would have just stayed with the original session. Like, what are you doing? Why did you switch gear? I mean, I like Passion Play, but it's definitely like you said, you guys did an episode on this. You have a lot of people called it dense. It's dense, it's complicated, it really takes a lot to get like you really have to like apply yourself to listen to Passion Play. You know what I mean? A lot more than you do with Thick as a Brick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the Chateau tapes are not like that. Like you said, they're not. They're a lot more accessible.
Yeah,
Um,
they are. A
I
lot of
don't.
the themes are present. You'll hear like, you'll go through and like, oh, I know that part from 1515 in a Passion Play, or oh, there's that
Right.
little piece of there. It's a lot of the elements are there, but it's more song based. And
Right.
even though, like, especially, I don't know if I'm trying to remember if you hear it more on this or on the Nightcap, but the way it was sequenced, especially on Nightcap, it's like one track kind of bleeds right into the next. It's almost like it was meant to be that way. I think this is was the original way that it was supposed to be
Yes.
sequenced.
Yes.
And it's maybe doesn't flow quite as well as the Nightcap sequence, but it still is great. But you could pull out any of these songs and listen to them on their own as a separate song, whereas you really can't do that as well with the Passion Play album.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're watching and you kind of have a hard time with Passion Play, go listen to the Chateau sessions because
Yeah.
it totally plays differently, even though you will hear elements and themes and passages that you are maybe sort of familiar with, certainly from and also from this album as well, because like I said, some of the stuff made its way to this album. But it's great. And if you want to hear Martin Barr,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
all over this.
He's
All
all
over
over it.
this.
He's
Yeah,
all over it.
yeah.
And like you said, the Nightcap stuff, he added a little more flute. I think he added flute where there was nothing going on, on the
Yes.
Nightcap, right?
And it
Um,
really worked well because I think
Worked.
that's the one thing about the Chateau sessions that I don't like is it's missing flute. It's almost
Yeah.
like he was waiting to add that in last, and then he decided, screw it, we're leaving this place. I don't like the way this is working out because I think that's what I miss when I listen to the Chateau sessions from this is that
Yes.
there really is very little flute. But then if you go get it sucks. You got to buy different things, right? You got to have this, you got to have the Nightcap stuff. But the,
Right.
the
Right.
flute is very well placed in to those songs on the Nightcap sessions. And Ian recorded those in 1990, whatever the year the Nightcap came out, and then put them in, mixed them in. So yeah, if you want the full story of this of a Passion Play, you need this box set to get the original Chateau things, and you unfortunately need Nightcap 2 to get the kind of alternate version of it.
Right.
Yeah. But you also need Nightcap because there's all sorts of other stuff unreleased. And Tom, I want to digress for 1 second
Go
because it's
ahead, go ahead.
when you talk about the history of this band, you can't not talk about the fact that Ian and the band always recorded way more stuff than they needed for the albums.
Right.
Somehow, this guy held on to great songs from throughout their career that never made it into an album that, like, oh, we'll throw on to an end of a greatest hits set, or oh, we'll throw into a compilation, or we'll release a compilation like Living in the Past that has all this stuff that, like, either were hits or never made it into the album, all these session tracks. And there is no other band in history, folks, that holds on to unreleased stuff like this band and then releases them. And you're like, how did that not make it onto those albums?
Yes.
You know, these great
No.
session tracks because they recorded way too much stuff, couldn't use it. And in many cases, sometimes the songs that didn't make the albums are as good or better than some of the stuff that made it to the albums.
Yes.
Go
Yes.
figure.
Yeah, because I didn't include Living in the Past on in this, but basically because it's a kind of a compilation, but it's like it's an excellent compilation. Like it's essential. I mean,
Yeah,
and so, there's so many outtakes. Like you're saying, there's all these outtakes. And you're going, wow, this sounds really good. This is great. This is like, wow, that's great. I mean, it's like Ian Anderson was just the guy is just so talented and he's a hard worker. I mean, he
yeah.
just works his butt off and he's
He's
constantly
prolific.
writing and constantly
Yeah.
recording,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's why, if you're a fan, you need these box sets. These are not just cash grabs. I know a lot of people say that these deluxe editions and box sets of things by other bands are cash grabs because you get it. It's maybe got a remaster or maybe a remix, and there's not much bonus stuff. It's got a booklet, it's got a poster, blah, blah, blah. People are like, ah, it's a cash grab. These are not,
They're
because in
not.
addition to a remix of the original album and original mixes and alternate takes, you get all these session tracks that were some previously never available before. You get like all of the content available on a Blu-ray or DVD and all the various audio formats. You get live concerts in audio and video. You get the book. I mean, it's just,
What else?
I know we
What else
sound
can a
like a
fan
broken
ask
record
for?
here. Yeah, I mean, it's like you can only like it's there's just no reason not to get these because you're getting all of this stuff, and the fact that Ian's got all this stuff, it's like I wish other bands did this, but the case is, a lot of these bands went into the studio, they had 8 or 9 tracks or 10 tracks written out. That's what they recorded. There's nothing else. There's nothing left in the vaults.
Right.
That was never the case with this band.
No,
Every they recorded, like, if their original album was 10, 12 songs or 8 songs or 9 songs, they recorded 20. And it's like, and maybe a couple kind of surfaced during the course of the years. Then all of a sudden he puts out a box set and you're like, wait a second, like we'll get to with Stormwatch. There's
yeah.
like a half an album's worth of stuff that he never ever released, and they're great. So
Yeah. Yeah. Paradise Steakhouse. How'd this not get like or whatever? It's like,
right. I mean,
yeah.
that when that Nightcap double album came out in the 90s, I was blown away. I'm like, where's all this stuff been sitting? And it's just,
Yeah.
and there was more, as we've seen with these box sets. It's just amazing how much stuff he's held on to. It really
All
is.
right. One more tangent, Pete. Hold on
Yeah.
a second. I gotta do a little bit more show and tell. Hold on a second. I gotta tell the story because this is the first time that I heard the Chateau disaster tapes was this.
Oh, and there, of course, that's the one I was referring to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And this is like I remember,
And that's just a snippet. That's just a snippet of what you
a
hear.
little snippet, right? But
Yeah.
it was cool to get a little bit of snippet of it. And I remember like putting, I had to mow a lot of lawns to buy that. Like I went to like Sam Goody's at Livingston Mall in New Jersey, like and there was like in the back, and I was like, I'll take the 20 years of Jethro Tull. How much money is that? Like it was like for me, it was a huge like layout of cash for this, but I
Yeah.
love, it was great. It's great to get
I
the
think
shit.
I think I bought that in Tower Records in New York City and in Greenwich Village, I think is
Did
where.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You had to have it, and it's like, you look back in those old box sets that we all bought back in the like early mid 90s, and they were just releasing them like crazy, and all of them were different sizes. Used to drive me crazy.
Yes.
The box
Yes.
set was a different size. None of them fit on a shelf. These are cool because they're all the same size and they all fit nicely. But man, back then, I mean, you look at that Toll box set. Do you remember the cigar box type box set that they released a couple of years after
Yes.
that?
Well,
That was half the size and stumpy and an open weird. And I'm like, why are all these looking like totally different from each other?
I want to put these on a shelf, people. Come on. I
And you
want to put
can't, because half of them don't fit. There was the Yes one, which I think was the same size as the Tull, but then I remember like the King Crimson, a couple of the King Crimson ones were like shaped differently, and I had a Santana one that was shaped differently. I'm like, man, none of these fit anywhere. So I would put them in a pile somewhere, and like they're all different shapes, and I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. So there
So
goes that tangent.
It's no, it's the what is it the hardships that we deal with as fans.
Yes, the curse of the collector. That's
Curse
what
of
it
the
is.
Collector. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So let's move on to Warchild. So we
Yes.
mentioned Warchild. I mean, we had to talk about Passion Play a lot because it's a lot. There's a lot to talk about
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But this album, like you said, there's some scraps from the Chateau, and including Skating Away, which I think is awesome. I love
Oh
that
yeah.
track.
Yeah.
What do you think of Warchild?
I really like Warchild a lot. It's not among my top favorites. It's a little eclectic, I think. It's a little different. I think some of the things that Ian wanted to do on Passion Play are kind of, and obviously we just kind of mentioned that because a lot of this material was kind of the genesis of it came during the Passion Play era. But you got saxes appearing on here again as well. You got some more very English kind of quirky type tracks on here. There's maybe not as much of the harder rock and tull on here, but there's some very majestic stuff on this album, I think. Sea Lion is great. Backdoor Angels kind of rocks, but then you got like Queen and Country and Ladies. The war track is very kind of like old school medieval British sounding, but then you got a couple, Skating Away and Bundle in the Jungle were hits, right?
Yeah,
Those are more
yeah,
commercial fare. You got Only Solitaire, The Third Hurrah. You got Two Fingers, which is really cool. It's a very eclectic, kind of strange album, but it really works. And I think it's like after this, well, let's reuse some of the material that we wound up not releasing, and let's use some of those themes before they would get back to, because I think the next album gets back to more of what we would expect from Jethro Tull. But I think it's a very cool album, and I know a lot of people that love it. I do really like it a lot. It's not one of my top favorites, but I like it. I think it's really good, and the reissue is great, as of course.
yeah,
But yeah, it's
yeah.
cool. I dig it.
Yeah, wasn't it originally going to be a movie? He wanted it to be a movie or something.
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah.
do,
And you could
Ian,
you could tell. I mean,
yeah,
it's got that feel, sort
yeah.
of.
Ian is always he never lacks ambition, right? He's always trying to do something grand and it's good for that's awesome. That's what I love about him.
I
But
think there's a theatricalness to both of these albums.
yes,
That this is
yes,
that period for me. These two will be forever tied. Like I think these two are tied together more than this is with Thick as a Brick.
right.
And it makes sense seeing as when they were released. They were both kind of, came from the same
No,
place,
I
so to
think you're
speak.
right, and it took me a while to realize that Two Fingers is actually this is like the scraps record because like Two Fingers has parts of Lick Your Fingers Clean in it.
Yes, yep.
So you're like, that's from the Aqualung stuff. So there's a lot of like old stuff that he was pulling out on this record. But like you said, I think there's a lot of highlights on this. I mean, it's as a record, is it as great as some of the other? No, but like some of the moments on here, like you said, Ladies is beautiful.
Yep.
Queen and Country is a cool track. Like you said, Sea Lion's kind of heavy. Like Sea Lion's got
Yeah.
that heavy riff.
It's got a real quirky vocal, but the song itself is like, there's some cranking guitar on that.
Yeah, like Martin's killing it on that,
Oh
and then
yeah.
yeah, so there's really some cool, some great songs on here. But I agree with you. I never thought of it that way. That this is actually tied more to Passion Play than Thick as a Brick. That's a great thought. I didn't think
Yeah.
about that. That's true though. Very true.
And what's really interesting too, and again, to go back to the whole concept of them going into the studio to make an album, recording a shit ton of stuff that didn't make the album. So here, from these sessions, we have Paradise Steakhouse. We have the amazing Glory Row and Rainbow Blues, which then made it to the MU Best of Jethro Tull
Yeah.
release. I remember my buddy had um, that on album, and I remember him playing that, and I'm like, "What are those two songs?" And I'm like, "Oh, those were like unreleased tracks that they just threw on this hits compilation." I'm like, "Where can I get that?" But then once you start getting the box sets and stuff, they start throwing that stuff on there, which is great.
Yes.
Those are both great. You got Pan Dance on here. You got Good Godmother Saturation. Sea Lion 2, right?
Yes.
Tet. I mean, Warchild 2. I mean, all this stuff that's like
And Dance is
Mad
cool. Yeah, there's a
Scientist.
lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they were so prolific during this time period. I mean, he was just writing songs left and right. So the amount of stuff that didn't make the album is crazy. But yeah, and like I said, if you buy this box set, you basically have a whole disc worth of unreleased stuff that just plays out like a totally another album.
Another record, another album.
I mean, we've already said that a couple times now. It's like
Yeah.
it's just crazy how much stuff there was left in the vault. So it's
Yeah.
insane.
It's like he was writing a double album every time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
every time out. And so then
Weird
we
album cover though, right? I always thought the album cover was kind of strange.
yeah, kind of weird. Kind of weird. Yeah, I think he's yeah. This is what people like some of my friends would make fun of. Like, look at, come on, really? Like just, and like, like show the back of your reissue again. Like, look, come on, this is the dude that you're excited about. Like, come on.
It is unique, right? He is
Yeah, it's
unique.
different. It's different. It's different. And he's wearing a
Yeah,
cod piece on stage and all stuff.
I
It's like,
know.
what?
Yeah. This
Anyway,
was that whole medieval kind of period in their history.
yes, yes. I don't, whatever. I still love it.
I
So Minstrel in the Galleries next, and this is, man, talk about a rebound for me. I just think after, maybe if Warchild wasn't quite as strong, this is like kick ass.
Yeah, this album has risen up the ranks for me in their catalog to the point where it's now approaching Aqualung is my favorite Jethro Tull album. I think
Wow. Yeah.
this goes right because this doesn't sound anything like this.
No, no, it
Nothing at
didn't.
all. To me, this sounds more like Aqualung than anything else in the catalog. But I mean, that title track,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like heavy metal right
It
there.
is. It's heavy. It's heavy.
So good.
Yeah.
Cold Winds of Valhalla is so epic and
So
so
cool.
also
Yeah.
really heavy. And then you got the gorgeous Black Satin Dancer, you know, Requiem and One White Duck, and then how about Baker Street Muse?
Baker Street Muse. I mean, come on. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
such a great epic song that nobody ever talks about. We always talk about the great epic prog epics of all time. That's got to be mentioned. That's one of them.
yeah.
It's so good. It's one of their best epics, I think. It's just so good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. And I think that Martin's kind of on fire on this record.
Oh,
I
he is. Yeah.
can,
This is another Martin album for
can
sure.
we talk about Martin Barr? Like, just for a minute, I isn't a sidetrack. This is gonna be a long video. I don't care. I think that Martin Barr is like one of those like underrated, like no one talks about that guy. And it's
Yeah.
like you listen to these albums, you're like, this guy, he was ripping it for 10 years.
I think he's really well respected by his peers. I think Tull fans love him, but if you were like to walk down the street and stop 10 people and say, "Oh, what do you think of Martin Barr as a guitar player?" They'd be like, "Who? Martin?"
Who? Like, who's
Yeah.
that? Yeah, exactly.
He's written some of the most underrated classic riffs ever. His solos are melodic and so tasty. Yeah, he's an underrated genius. I went to see with Eric Porter, as a matter of fact. We went to see Martin Barr play at Bethel Woods a couple of years ago. He played in the middle of the winter up at they have a little up at the old Woodstock site, Bethel Woods, big concert venue, but they also have a little indoor place where they do smaller shows. And we went to see Martin and his band do a solo show a couple of years ago, and he played a couple of his own tracks, but mostly Tull classics. I mean, I've seen him before with Tull, so I know how good he is, but man, seeing him, on his own, now he's playing like a Paul Reed Smith and he's got a little different guitar tone and whatnot. But man,
Right.
he's so good,
Still good. He's still great.
so tasty and
Yes.
melodic, and everything he
Tasty.
does is memorable. Like, how many Martin Barr guitar solos do you kind of know and you can almost sing and hum? A lot. It's just not mindless noodling and shredding. I mean, everything is just perfect for the song. And there's so many classic riffs. We talk about like the great riff guys of all time, and we talk about Tony Iommi and Jimmy Page and, the guys from Aerosmith and Eddie Van Halen and all these guys who have created great riffs. He needs to be discussed in that
Yeah.
pantheon of guitar greats, I think. I think Martin Barr is one of the all-time greats.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, just that riff on Minstrel in the Gallery. I mean, you can tell that's him. That's him. That's his riff.
That
And
opening blast, right? That solo in the beginning, and it's just like
yeah.
comes out. It's like these sheets of like notes and things, and then that riff kicks in. With the drums. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just so
Yeah.
classic.
And
So
you said it, tasty. I mean, that's the word I would say. Like, he's not real flashy, but he's just tasty.
no,
His tone, his feel, his touch, his
yep.
riffage, like the riffs, the melodic riffs. I mean, it's
His tone, I mean, tone is the key. He's got a
yeah,
great tone.
yeah,
Whether way back then or even now, his tone is amazing. Always has been. It's not cluttered up with tons of effects. It's just guitar, amp, and maybe a little bit of something else, whatever he's using. But yeah,
yeah.
it's so good.
Awesome. Awesome. So after the high of Minstrel in the Gallery, we kind of dip a little bit, I would say, with Too Old to Rock and Roll,
Yeah.
which might of the run might be the weakest of the run, possibly. A lot of people feel that way about this album. It's I don't think he did himself any favors by calling it Too Old to Rock and Roll and putting himself on the cover. I don't know if that was his idea or not, but like it's just one of those. But I just think it has more to do with the material than anything, really. It's more just the songs. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, this to me doesn't really cut the mustard. It's there's some decent stuff in here. I mean, first of all, I put off buying this album for many, many years. I was a total fan for years, and I put off getting this for a long time. But then I eventually got it because I was never a big fan of the title track.
No,
I
the
know
title track is not great.
it got a
No.
lot of airplay. A lot of people like it, and it starts off pretty good. Like Quiz Kid is a good
Quiz
track.
Kid's awesome. Yeah, I love Quiz
Really
Kid.
good. Crazy Institution's okay. Salamander, it's okay. Taxi Grab is kind of quirky. From a Deadbeat to an Old Greaser doesn't really do a lot for me. Bad, Odd, and Loveless doesn't do a lot for me. Big Dipper, Pied Piper, It's to me,
Yeah,
this is a very like mediocre album with a couple of pretty good songs. I don't think it, I mean, the thing is, after the ballsiness of this record and the epicness of this record, this doesn't have any of that.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
almost no Martin on this album. It's just
Right.
very kind of quirky, just kind of, I don't know. It's just lacking for me. I've always felt there's just something missing on this, and I don't know what he was trying to do. And again, there was an idea of doing a whole movie show, something like that here. So this was supposed to be like a whole concept thing, and I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't really
Yeah,
work.
yeah. I
And it's
mean,
a shame because it interrupts this run, right? It really does.
right. It does sort of interrupt the run a little bit, I gotta be honest. But that being said, I gotta say, I remember having this on cassette. Somebody taped this for me back in the day, and I used to listen to it in my car. And I have to say, I really like Quiz Kid a lot. And I think Quiz Kid kind of kicks butt. And I think I love Crazy Institution and I love Salamander. So I like the first half of it feels pretty, but then Taxi Grab kind of, it's okay. Dead, and then it kind of falls off the cliff, and the rest of it's
Yeah,
kind of and it's like
yeah,
so like compared to the rest of these records, it's not at the same level. And you have to be honest. I mean, like we just said, I mean, these guys are cranking out records year after year after year after year. I mean, it's like, come on, at some point you're gonna your muse is gonna be it's gonna be harder to create classics every time.
yeah. Well, I mean, and this was basically the theme for every band around this time. It's like, studio album tour, studio album tour, studio album
Yep.
tour. That's what they did every year. And I think, and again, maybe in the grand scheme of things, as we look back on the history of this band, that this was the transition album into the next phase,
Right.
right?
Right.
There always seems to be one of those. And this was kind of like the last in line of this, kind of line up the style of music because where we go next is very different than this.
And and awesome. I mean, here we go. Let's talk about it. Songs from the Wood. I mean, this is like wow. This is a
Yeah.
huge bounce back from the last record.
Yeah.
Uh, Massive. I think this album's like perfect. I love this record. I pull this one out a lot.
Yeah.
What do you think about this one?
It's held up really, really well,
Yeah.
really, really well. And I think, we got some fresh, here the band decides to kind of go back to more of a folk-based sound, but yet the progressive rock complexity and arrangements are still here in a big way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got now a bass player who arguably one of the bass players and the best bass players ever in the band
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
John Glasscock, right, who had some
Yep.
pedigree before he joined this band. You got David Palmer, now D Palmer, and John Evan, two keyboard players. Barrymore Barlow now has become like the guy on drums in this band, and all of a sudden now you've got these very woodsy, warm, charming songs that still rock, but and give you all the complexity of like stuff you really love from Aqualung and Thick as a Brick and the Passion Play, but it's all very, very approachable. Like these songs are like have this charm that is like unmistakable. And I mean, there's Tull classics on this album all these years later, right? I mean, the title track, Jack and the Green, you got the kind of the big Martin song Hunting Girl, right? You got lovely stuff like Velvet Green and The Whistler. I mean, The Whistler is just so amazing. The great majestic ring out solstice bells. You got, Fire at Midnight and Pibroch. I mean, there's folky stuff, there's rockin' stuff on here, there's like real British kind of charming stuff. I mean, it's a lovely, lovely album,
It
but
is.
it's not like this is not like easy listening folk rock.
No, it's not.
This is really complex stuff. And I remember the first time I ever saw Jethro Tull, they played Songs from the Wood, and I was thinking, man, these guys are tearing it up on here. That's some pretty complicated arrangements, right? It really
Yeah.
is. The whole album is built on that, but
Yeah.
it's presented in a way that, like, I think, like, if you're not like a hard rock or prog fan, if you're like more folk and pop and stuff, you could listen to this and really appreciate it as well. But there's so much more to it than that. Yeah, this is the beginning of the folk rock period, or the
Right.
folk prog rock, whatever you want to call it. Everybody calls it something different.
Folk trilogy, folk
The
rock trilogy.
folk rock, folk prog trilogy, and they definitely, these three albums, certainly the first two, kind of go together. The third is a little different.
Yeah.
The first two are a little more lighthearted. The third is a little more serious, but I really love that about the third. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. But I mean, this album I just never tire of. I never get
No, it's a classic. Yeah,
it's
it's a classic.
it's awesome. It's a classic. I mean, like you said, the ensemble playing on this is just like chef's kiss. Like
Yeah,
it's just the arrangements are perfect. The playing is perfect. I mean, whenever I listen to this, I go, "Oh yeah, I forgot. Jack and the Green's amazing. Oh yeah, Cup of Wonder. Oh yeah, Hunting Girl." I mean, like it just doesn't stop. It's like
it doesn't
relentless.
stop. Yeah,
It's
it's
relentless.
another pretty much perfect album from them. I would argue that, again, we all love the albums we love, right? And we talked so highly about Minstrel and the Garrett just a couple minutes ago, but I would make the argument that next to Aqualung, this album, it probably is the strongest Tull album, start to finish, with like no weak tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to have the reissue on this one. I gotta get more. I got the reissue on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great reissue because it's got extra tracks, and it's got that 1977 concert, which is so
Yes.
good. So
Yes.
good. So
Yes.
and the remix sounds great. Yeah, it's a really, really great album. Really,
Yeah,
really.
I didn't see the Tull until the Crest of a Knave tour. I saw him at the I think it was the Garden, Madison Square Garden, or Brendan Byrne. I can't remember which one. It was a big, and that was they sort of had that comeback in the 80s with
Yeah.
that album.
Yep.
Steel Monkey was on the radio, and I
The
remember
monkey
going to
was
see
being
them, and
played.
it was a good concert. It was good, but I would have loved to have seen them in like 77. That would have
Oh, me too. I have my little bucket list of bands that started in the 70s that I obviously was a little too young to go see at the time, that I would have loved to have seen Tull in this period, or the period right before. I would have loved to seen Tull from like 71 through 79.
yeah,
For me, I've seen them a lot post, but I would have loved to have seen the early days big
that
time.
that
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 would have been
band,
pretty special. Yeah.
yeah, it would have been special, absolutely.
And they're
So
really gelling on here. You can always tell when a lineup of a band, and again, sometimes that new blood really helps, right? You can tell
yeah,
when things are just
yeah.
really gelling, from every perspective. Playing, songwriting, everything. You listen to the live stuff. I mean, this band is just cooking and firing on all cylinders. Not just firing at midnight, firing on all cylinders.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so there's and they keep going on Heavy Horses, which is the next one, which is part we keep talking about this trilogy, and that's what a lot of people call it. These three records in a row that are kind of similar. They kind of follow the same path a little bit. And this one kind of feels like Songs from the Wood, out in the country. Like you were in
Yeah.
the woods earlier, now you're out in the country.
It's a
Maybe.
little more, it's maybe even not so much woodsy, because I think that album is very woodsy. This is almost like on the farm, Jethro Tull.
The farm,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Tom, keep talking about the album. I'm just gonna let the puppy out, but yeah,
All right.
good.
So yeah, Heavy Horses is, like kind of like almost like part two of Songs from the Wood. Um uh Check out the channel. Eric Porter and I actually did an episode of Songs from the Wood against
Yep.
Heavy Horses, and these are two of his favorite Jethro Tull albums, and he kind of got me really into it. He was like, "Dude, you need to listen to Heavy Horses again," like because I was kind of like, "Yeah, Songs from the Wood's way better." He's like, I don't know." He's like, "You might want to listen to Heavy Horses again and crank it up," and he was right. I mean, there's some songs on here like, man, like Acres Wild,
Wild is great.
man,
No
No
lullaby.
Lullaby.
Yeah.
Rover, One Brown Mouse is beautiful. Like Heavy Horses is a great track, great like title track. I mean, it's a really strong album. It really is.
Yeah, I mean the title track to me is Tull legendary. I mean that's just so good. I love Heavy Horses. It's so emotional and just so kind of like it's like heavy, but not like heavy metal heavy. It's just the whole arrangement and the passion in the song is just like just gets me every time. And how about the weirdness of it? The Mouse Police never sleeps. I mean, what a way to open. Yeah, who opens
Yeah.
up an album like that? It works though. It really works. Acres Wild. Yeah, it's a gorgeous album. And I would argue that some of Ian's finest vocals were on this.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. This and the and songs from the Wood, both.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He was really, really on top of his game on this time period, big time. And
Yeah.
again, this lineup is just killing it here. And it's just kind of sad because I know John Glasscock was going through a lot of health issues at the time. It's just kind of sad that like, he plays on the next album, but not a lot. This is really, really these are the only two true albums that feature this lineup in their like full capacity. And you just have to wonder like if he didn't get sick and eventually he passed away, if they would have continued a little bit longer. But I think Ian was ready to kind of move on to the next phase after the next album. That's just the way he is. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is a gem in the catalog for sure.
Yep. Love it. Love it. So then we move on to the third part of the trilogy, what people call it, Stormwatch, which is a little bit. I would say those two are definitely closer than this one is to
Yeah.
the trilogy.
Yep.
You had already alluded to that. You're absolutely right. This one has a little bit of a different feel, and but there's some again more and more gems on this. So what's your take on Stormwatch?
I like it a lot. I do think it sounds quite different from the other two. They include it as part of the trilogy, but when you listen to all three back to back, it really isn't. I think this one maybe is starting to give hints of where they go next with the A album, but it's a really good album. It's a little darker, a little more serious, a little more bleak, right? So where you have this, so we talked about the Woodsy album, the On the Farm album. This is like out in the middle of the
Out in the sea.
out in the sea and the snow and the Antarctic, whatever. It's just
Yeah.
really different. But there's some great tracks on here. Like North Sea Oil is great. Orion is killer.
Orion. Yeah.
Home is big and soaring and gorgeous. Dark Ages is terrific. Yes, Kyle, I'm going to get you in a second. Um, Something's on the Move rocks, right? I
Yep.
mean, just so good. Flying Dutchman is great. Dun Rungale is great. I mean, it really is an underrated album. I'll let you continue live with
All
grab the
right.
thought.
No, I concur. I think Stormwatch is an underrated record for sure. I mean, I actually getting ready for this episode, I listened to this again like quite a bit, and I realized that the standout tracks that you mentioned, Orion, Dark Ages, especially there's a couple of them. Orion, Dark Ages, Dun Ringel sounds like something off Aqualung.
Yep.
Flying Dutchman is freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Elegy's like this beautiful way to kind of end the record is sort of instrumental, like it almost sounds like Bach or something. It's pretty cool.
I
Um,
think both Dark Ages and Flying Dutchman, because they're both kind of like epic tracks to me. They could have been on Minstrel in the Gallery for me. It's
yeah,
got that kind of feel. There are a couple of the more folky tracks on here, but even the stuff that's like a little not as rocking, more folky stuff, they're really, really well done. And but
yeah,
again, one of those albums where maybe there's not a lot of kind of hit potential songs that you can pull off. Certainly, they didn't play any of these songs live much going forward.
no,
But
no,
I think like North
shame.
Sea Oil and
Yeah,
Orion, both really memorable,
yeah,
It's,
yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
kind of a shame. I think it's because the band was sort of splintering apart at this point. Like, I think while they were making this, unfortunately, John Glasscock died, didn't, or he
Yeah.
died, maybe he died later. I can't remember, but
I think he died a little later, but he
a
was
little
very
later.
sick and he only appears on part of the album. I think Ian had to play bass on a good chunk of the album. But yeah, I think Ian was ready to move into other things and John Glasscock was not well. And that was just basically, I think, because again, after this album, basically him and Martin and a bunch of new guys.
Yep,
So he
yep,
basically reconfigured the whole band. But yeah, and I didn't see them on this tour. I think that would have been kind of cool to see, but I know they did the whole tour, and I think it holds up really, really well. Like I said, this is another one of those albums, I guess, kind of like a passion play where people seem to think it's like a hard album to get into.
yes,
I
yes,
I I don't think so. I think once you really listen to it, it's more serious. If you like
Right.
the more lighthearted tone stuff from this band, this isn't that.
No,
But it's
no.
still really, really good. And to talk about the box set, we talked about having all these leftover tracks. There's a shit ton of stuff on here that they record during the sessions that didn't make the album that are as good as anything on the album. Like there's a song called Crossword. It's great.
As
Kelpie,
usual, as usual.
as usual. Kelpie's on here. A Stitch in Time. You got a couple of instrumentals are on here. You got King Henry's Madrigal. You got Urban Apocalypse, Man of God. It's just like half a dozen tracks that like never made the album in there. And I remember, and he did a really, Kelpie made its way to other compilations later on. But most of these bonus tracks, these session tracks, he held on to until they released this. And I
Yeah.
remember like a bunch of us when we first bought this, we're like, this stuff is great.
What's all this?
Why is he held on to these songs all these years? Like, because did he know back in the 80s that or 1979 or whatever, did he know that like 40 years later he was going to be releasing all these box sets? I don't know.
Well,
It's
I
like
sort of said it half joking, but it's kind of like it's for real. I mean, he really was like writing like a double record every time, and
every
it's almost,
time.
I mean,
Yep.
literally almost writing a double album. Like you said, every bonus disc is like another album, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The work rate is just like mind-boggling. Like me, Ian. I mean, you can never call Ian Anderson. I mean, that guy was just. I think he was just inspired. He was inspired. He had a great band. He had the he had a really successful band that was just kicking ass throughout the 70s. So that's going to fire you up, uh,
Yeah.
you know. And anyway, I mean, there you go. I mean, all I'm going to say, before I forget to say it, because you'll appreciate this, our friend Anthony will not be happy that we're ending in 1979.
No, of course not.
He's going to be
But,
pissed.
but
He's going to
Pete, the
get
best album is the next one because it's got my man on it. Yes, I
he's going to be
know.
commenting. There'll be a comment from him being like, "I can't
Oh
believe we
yeah,
stopped in 79,
yeah.
idiots." Um,
Well, I mean, but that the A album is part of the stuff that goes forward, right? So you
yeah,
can I
yeah,
did that in Broadsword, and there's a certain aspect to the band's music that really does end with this album because even though, like I mentioned, there are some things bleeding in here that maybe hint at what's to come. A is very different than this, as is Broadsword, and as is all those other albums. And they're all fine for what they are. And let's not forget they also waited till the end of the decade to release a classic live album,
yes,
which again pulls a lot of some of the great stuff we've talked about today into one really cool concert. And yeah, they were a force to be reckoned with live. So again, I
yeah,
wish I could have seen them around that time. Wasn't
yeah,
quite old enough, unfortunately.
yeah. I wish I could have seen Barry live playing drum. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
the fact that John Bonham used to say, he didn't praise many drummers, but he praised Barrymore Barlow.
yeah,
Uh, he's one of the best drummers out there.
yep,
Uh,
yep.
so just seeing him in action would have been pretty awesome for me.
I think so. Yeah,
Because I
for sure.
started as a drummer, so I was always like, Phil Collins was my guy, and then Barrymore Barlow and all these prog guys. Carl Palmer, all those guys. But I never really got to see them in their prime. You know what I mean? Sometimes I was when I saw Genesis, Phil was singing most of the time. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, it's. I mean, not that I want to be any older than I am because I'm getting old as it is, but sometimes I wish I was like maybe born like 5 years earlier because I would have
right,
would have gotten to see all of these bands back in the
5 years.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so instead, but then I'd be like, oh my God, I'm 65 right now. It's like,
Right. I don't want to wish any more age on. Yeah.
no,
Exactly.
I don't. I'm happy where I'm at. So, but
Yeah.
but it would have been cool to like kind of grow up and be able to see all these amazing groups in the 70s in their prime.
Yeah.
I think that would be really, I mean, it's cool to watch like video footage and all that sort of thing, but it would have been cool to be sitting at a Madison Square Garden in 1978,
Yeah.
seeing Jethro Tull on the, Songs from the Water Heavy Horses tour. I mean, that would be pretty special, I think. But
Absolutely. No, and like you said, you can get sort of close if you go down to your, whatever your surround sound, turn the lights off, crank up these DVDs or whatever, or that, and crank them up as hard, loud, and you go, okay, I'm sort of close to seeing them live, but it's not quite the same as being there,
not quite the same. It's all we have, unfortunately, but
all we
it's like,
got, but we take what we can get. So,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, so it's good stuff. So there you go, people. What do you think? I mean, we went through the whole 1969 to 79, and that was quite a task, but we did it, and it was enjoyable because I just love these albums to death. I mean, there's really, like you said, Too Old to Rock and Roll might be the only one that's like, eh, but
Yeah,
everything else is freaking awesome.
that's it. It's really the only misstep in a lot of albums, really. So, I mean, how many albums are we talking about here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 albums. We're
Well,
talking 12 albums here. So if you take out Too Old to Rock and Roll, and again, some people may love that album. To some people, this may be the most amazing 12 album run ever. But if you take that out, I mean, still you got 11 albums in a decade that like every one of them is what, 4 out of 5 star or higher.
right, That's exactly it. I made like a list. I just wrote it down like the star, and it's like everything's 4 or 5 star. Like it's there's. I mean, the only one that wasn't was Too Old, which is 3.5.
Yeah.
Everything else is 4.55.
Yeah. Without even thinking about it, right? Yeah.
I feel like the Russian judges are giving everyone a 10, 10, 10.
Exactly.
But anyway.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't think there's any other run this strong, Tom. I really don't think so. In a 10-year period, you could throw out names like Zeppelin and Sabbath and Elton John and any number of other bands, but I don't know if any of them have this many albums in a 10-year period that are of this high quality
yeah,
without having more than one or two mediocre albums, right? It's just
right.
whether you think the albums of a Zeppelin or a Sabbath or whatever, or Yes or whoever are maybe greater than these, that's open to interpretation. Everybody feels differently about these albums, but for me, for all the bands that I'm into, I don't know if there's any other band that I love that has so many great albums, like we just said, in a 10-year period as these guys. I really don't think so.
The high quality for that length of time.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Pretty crazy. So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. I always read all the comments. Let me know. Let us know what you think. Maybe you think we're crazy. Maybe you think Too Old to Rock and Roll is the best one they ever did. Who knows? You never
There's
know.
always going to be one, so I would
Gonna be
not surprise
somebody.
me. Yeah,
There's gonna
would
be
not.
somebody like, well, you guys are crazy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. But thanks again, Pete. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for
This
having
was
me,
fun.
Tom. I appreciate it. This was fun. I always love talking about Jethro Tull. So yeah, this was good.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. So, and of course, check out see a Tranquility. I mean, if you don't know what that is, you don't watch YouTube. Uh, but yeah, so much great content on that channel. Unbelievable. Uh,
11 years worth, 6,500 videos. God, I sometimes stop and I look at that number and I'm like, really? I've recorded over 6,000 videos. But I guess, in 11
yeah,
years.
yeah. And you
Yeah.
and you never stop, man. You're always on it. Like that's the one thing I always say about saying Ian Anderson's hard worker. I say you're a hard worker too, man. You're always
Every
on.
day,
You're always doing it. You're always doing it.
every
So
day, every day,
pay
every
it
day.
pays off. The hard work pays off. So
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So anyway, but thanks again, Pete, and we
Well,
will hit like and subscribe if you like what you see. Appreciate it. It helps the channel. And we'll see you next time on Curless Mania. Take care. See you.
take care, everybody. Bye bye.